Our social media feeds these days are full of posts about the so-called quarantine 15, the extra weight people have put on with the stress of eating and pandemic baking. But for people living with an eating disorder, this is bringing on an extra level of anxiety and triggers. We are taking a closer look at that issue this morning with clinical therapist Kyla Fox. She's the founder of the Kyla Fox Center, an eating disorder recovery center in the city of Toronto. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Anne-Marie. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. This time of year is a common trigger in eating disorders, even without the pandemic. Why is that?
Well, I think because it's spring, and usually this would be the time of the year that we would come out and we would, layer off and derobe and be differently exposed. And so I think there's even more heightened pressure that when this pandemic actually comes to a close, we're going to all have this reveal. And I think there's a lot of anxiety about what that will actually mean for us physically. And I think that's activating a lot of pressure and fears around what we look like in our relationship with food.
So how then, Kyla, does the pandemic play into this? We see stories about people panic buying food. We've all heard the jokes about the quarantine 15. People are posting pictures of them baking and eating, and food is everywhere. And we know that this is a trigger for clients. So how does the pandemic resolve itself in this situation for people with an eating disorder?
Well, I think you said it perfectly. I mean, I think food is such a source of focus because there isn't a whole lot else that we can be focusing on. But I think we need to remember that a lot of the reasons why people are turning to food is because they're feeling so many things like fear, anxiety, feeling out of control, not knowing when this is going to end, wondering if they're going to have enough food or have a job when this is all over, or overwhelmed with the fact that they're with their kids all day while trying to work from their home space. So there's such heightened emotion. And usually when it comes to eating disorders, people use food to cope with the feelings. And so this is why eating disorder behavior is so activated around this time, because so are our feelings.
If anyone is at home and struggling right now, what can they do?
Well, I think some of the really important things, as best as possible, even though I know it's really, really tricky, is to try to have some element of normalcy, some element of structure and regulation, just as you would if things were normal. So waking up at a normal time. I think making sure that you have structured meal time so you aren't just sort of grazing with food all throughout the day. I think making sure that you could even have accountability to mealtime. Maybe you have a lunch date with a friend. I know it will be on Zoom or something, but at least it will hold you accountable to that. I also feel it's really important to have a reasonable bedtime and not get lost in binging on Netflix and, binging on online shopping, or at least filling shopping bags if you're not spending money. But I think being mindful of the different ways that you can take care of yourself, even though I know we're limited in getting outside. I think now especially it's really important to get out, get some fresh air, clear your head a little bit. Anything possible that keeps you in a regulated routine, and also hygiene, really important. Make sure that you wake up in the morning and get your pajamas off, put your clothes on, wash your hair, do all the things that you would do if life was happening, even though it's happening differently.
For a lot of people who struggle with an eating disorder, they are in regular contact with either a therapy group or someone like yourself. Obviously, the pandemic makes that very difficult. Are there online resources that they can use?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I know that our center is fully operating virtually. I think there are a lot of resources online for people who are suffering. I mean, this is the way of the world now. So, of course, treatment and professional care and support can't stop. I think that it's really, really important, especially now, that people access therapeutic support and nutritional and physiological support as best they can.
Really good to discuss this angle of the pandemic. Thanks so much for joining us, Kyla.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.